myself, Mr. Ritz, Mr. Mendez, and Mr. Gregory. We have a guest with us, Wilson County News, Mr. Allison, and also Mr. Wayne Ruck is with us. Mrs. Attorney, would you lead us in your location, please?
Yes. Oh, dear Father, we thank you for this time that you've given us to come together. We ask you for your wisdom and your guidance. We ask that you be with us in this time of pandemic. These and many things we ask in your son's name. Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the
United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation under God, one liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I
Pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
All right, oath of office swearing in of board member Diane Savage. I don't see that she's here, so we'll skip over that. Number 2, presentation. Report on meeting with the bank officials regarding payment on the Riverbank Community Development Bond and developer regarding Southwest Trust bank accounts and payment of bonds. Ben, you want to lead us on that? You want to?
Yes. So in line with what we did, if you look in the packet towards the back of it, it says the wire transfer payment paid for. So what we did is in a lot of hoops, I guess, and hurdles to get that transfer done. We finally got it done, and we were able to make 2 past interest payments, put a little bit more in to make sure we covered any outstanding wire fees that would be covered through South Trust or the Bank of Meloncourt, New York. So we ended up transferring $285,000.
For the board's information, can you clarify the hoops that you're referring to?
Yeah, you know, it just seems like every time we made a request, they wanted, the bank wanted to verify with someone else. So I would send the request, the same one that Mr. Allison would send me from the Bank of Meloncourt. I would send the exact same thing, but then they would contact them to make sure it was okay. It was just like, it didn't make any sense why it was so difficult. Now, if it was different, Chris, you let me know, Mr. Allison.
It's certainly different than it has been in the past, so I would,
Yeah. And
thank
so,
you for everything you've went through.
Yeah, so something that should have been very simple took a little bit longer because it just seems like every time we did something, they wanted to verify it so that, is this the right bank account? And it said, this is the one they sent me. And then whenever they send the same bank account with the exact same information with a screenshot from email that I sent them, then they accepted it. So, but it probably delayed it another 2 or 3 days to make that transfer.
Ben or Mrs. Turner, could y'all elaborate on regarding bank signatures?
Mr. Chairman, if I may. Okay, so we did the resolution at the last meeting, and I certified it and sent it over there to them electronically and hand-delivered a copy as well, so they had it both ways. But there came to be a question of signing the document. I believe that the chairman and Ben both went over there to sign, and then they said that Ben couldn't sign by himself, even though the board did it. So it's additional work that we had to do to go back and forth. I finally did call and speak to Andy Eubanks to tell him that I'm having a little difficulty. I'm beating my head up against the wall because we finally, after many calls, and Ben even tried to go and stop and see Mr. Eubanks to say, what's the question? Because we didn't even know, we wanted to transfer, we weren't sure and had verification of what's in the account. They finally gave us something printed out that said what the amount was, and then we started the process, as Ben alluded to earlier, about how we can make this transfer. So that finally took place, but it took us about a week to get back and forth,
And we also just tried to find some of the past statements that were sent to the previous chairman's home. How can we get copies of those? And ran into a roadblock there because they charge like so much per page and $25 an hour to research it and get it back up. So I was like, oh no, you know, to what we were told, we can't spend that on other stuff, but the bond right now. So ran into some roadblocks there as well.
If you recall, you and I were at the drive-through at the same time, signing the signature cards.
Yes.
I believe, was yours accepted?
Uh-huh.
Okay, my signature was not accepted. So they said, with my signature, I needed a resolution, so at our last meeting, I think we passed that resolution.
Yes.
So then I was able to go back and, sign. Out of the 3 signatures, I accepted 2.
Yeah, Ray did it right away, Mr. Lambert, and then they took mine, and then they said that they needed a resolution. And then one of the things they said, well, once we send it, we don't know where it goes, you can't get it back. I'm like, it's not for me to decide where it's going. This is where they say it goes, and this is what we're appointed to do, and I'm not gonna second guess it. I don't know why you're second guessing what we're requesting. We just need to get it sent, so we can follow through with our obligations as new board members, and it was very difficult. I will say that.
But the bottom line, the payment was made
Yes.
for, what amount? I think it's in our.
$285.
$285,000. I believe that there's a $20 processing fee for the bank. There was supposed to be another processing fee, I think, for the bank receiving it, but I think they said that they would wait because we'd already started that transition. We wanted to make sure that payment was done. So we were able to do that. I believe the date was that July 31st?
Yes.
So we wanted to make that payment as soon as possible because I think that was one of the things, and the goals at our last meeting was to be able to make the payment. And if you look at the statement that we received, as you notice, it is the city's address for the bank statements now. I think there's a balance of 60-something, I want to say $62,000, is that right?
Yep.
And so that's the balance that we have currently, and so $62,327.56 for the records, I'll write that down. And so we'll have no other transaction or any worry about making it until we make some other payments and we receive some other tax dollars to do that. We have just finished our audit for the city, and we'll be able to give you audited numbers of what was deposited and went through the city based on our auditor. And so we'll have that for Riverbend, and then we can start tracking, say, when we receive our payments going forward. We'll be able to do that and document that, and I should be able to get these statements in a timely fashion. Because you see, this is the July 31st statement. We pay on 31st, so that was a really good thing. So then we'll have a record of what we're doing going forward. Mr. Chairman, we have received our freedom of information request for Riverbend full, complete copy of the development bylaws, which I do think I have, a copy of the article of corporations, which I have as well, that was back from 2004. They did ask for IRS forms 990. I'll have to do some research because I don't think the city has been following this for them. Mr. Rich, do you know, or Mr. Allison, do you know who's been following your IRS forms, the 990?
No, I do not.
So I'll have to check to see with the attorney who filed the 990, and I may not be able to answer that question to the person who requested it, but I also need to make sure that we've done it, because every supposed to file every year, even every organization supposed to file something, and that's a form for that. So I do have the request for the public information that I'll be processing.
Any more discussion regarding the South Trust bank account or payment or anything? It's not a part of our agenda, but I'm gonna ask for citizens' input. Roy, you said you wanted to say a few words?
Yeah, I'm very satisfied with the way things are going. I believe now that we have a good board on hand that is progressive, and that we'll be able to eventually probably work in a partnership with SDC, so we can promote the corporation documentation that I got from the state, where they say that is for development and improvement of Riverbend, as much of, not only for the housing and development, but also for the development of business together. So the way that the board said now seems like you'll be able to accomplish those things and will bring more construction into the project for more housing, whether it will be able to make the factor payment for this gentleman and the bondholder can get the money. scenes in there. And I think that we know we are running the right track with the right people. Maybe before it was kind of slow or whatever, and things were not done as such. Apparently, the city council never requested anything, and so on. Previous council, I'm making aware the council now that they are part of this corporation, and they are the overseeing, that everything is clear, and it will move as it said, and filed with the state. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
And Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
we will add a citizen comment portion of the agenda.
Please. Okay, let's move on to new business, CNA to approve the meeting minutes from July the 14th, and that's also part of your packet.
I make a motion to approve.
Mr. Ritz, is that correct?
Yes.
Second.
I'll second.
Mr. Reed, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay, consideration of action to approve solicitation of an auditing firm for the Riverbend Community Development Corporation.
Mr. Chairman, in discussions that we had at that last meeting, it was, I believe it was Treasurer Reed that mentioned that we need to look at someone to do a comprehensive plan. And we did discuss in according to your minutes, we tabled anything that had to do with cost or budget or anything like that. We tabled that because, you know, for me to duplicate things, we agreed that everything would be sent out via email, and I did send it out via email. But I do believe, Mr. Chairman, that where we are, and we discussed, and I would like to actually have Mr. Allison speak to some of the things that we spoke to earlier, Mr. Allison, about where we are, just to give us the financial history.
Thank you. So I have made a request to Bank of New York Mellon to provide a history of all the payments that they have received from the Riverbend Development Corporation from the 2007 bond issuance, which was the first time they were involved to date. I have not received that yet, but I will have Bank of New York forward it directly to this board, so it's not coming through me, it'll just come directly to you. I'm hoping between South Trust Bank and the payments they've received from the city and the payments that Bank of New York has received and remitted to bondholders, it will make it pretty clear the flow of funds, and I'm hoping that the board members will then be satisfied that they can account for all the dollars, and hopefully they'll send that to you shortly. I'll be happy to answer any detailed questions.
So that would speak to what the payments, so that they're the bondholder of the payments that have been received historically. Okay. And then they also can provide for us, or can you also provide for us the payments that are due going forward, scheduled payments going forward?
So I did email that out to, I believe, the full board the day after the last board meeting. I sent out a amortization schedule of principal and interest going forward, and I'd be happy to resend that. But I believe it was the next day or the following.
Okay. If you could just resend it, I'll make sure that we have everybody that gets that to the schedule, because I get so many emails, sometimes they get lost, and we've been going back and forth in correspondence, and me got hooked up in that email trail when we're trying to get the payment done. Okay, so that we can make sure that will show that we have the payment that the bondholder has received, the bank in New York has received, what's due going forward. We have requested from the bank, I think, Ben, did you request that information from the bank? We'll have to follow up again about, I think we're trying to go back a 7-year period.
Yes, I requested that.
But I haven't received anything. Have you received anything?
Mm.
So we're making another
Not
request.
even like what it would cost or a fee to it.
I thought we got those records from the past, Chairman, did we not get them?
We did receive, according to Richard, copies of the bank statement, because I can't,
Yeah.
we have copies of the bank statement, but we just need like a summary, because it just, rather than go through each of, just a summary of where they are in the payments, and so the bank should be able to provide that to us. But I do have some of the statements here, but
We
it
don't have anything from the time the past chairman resigned in October to current. Because those statements were given at his house, and were never brought here, so we don't have anything.
I thought he gave those to Richard, and Richard delivered those.
we have copies of the payments to Videographer from the tax office. Okay, and then Richard provided us from the Mellon Bank those things, but we don't have a comprehensive statement from the bank itself. We have some of them, we have some of them, but from South Trust, I don't have everything that we need.
Okay.
And so, then we can have those comparison numbers, and so, but we need somebody to officially say everything balanced out, it's
Yeah.
not
You
necessarily.
see something to say that all the money went to the city?
We just need to
From the
give
tax
him
office.
all of the information from the bank in New York, what we have for the amortization, and what we can get documented from and then I know it's come through the city, so we just need somebody to give us a letter. I don't wanna call it a get out of jail free card, but it means just to say, to certify, yes, everything's done, and we're ready. So you would need to hire someone to do that, and not necessarily staff needs to do that. You would need to have somebody officially with some accolades behind their name that can stand behind, certify it. And so that's what, this agenda item is for.
Have we researched how the cost of that would be handled?
Well, I just reached out to Jeff Kuntz, who said he could come to one of our next meetings if you want to have one via Zoom. That he said that it's a small fee because they're asking to, I mean, there's not a lot of votes. Not like I have to pay when they audit the city of Floresville. I just need to give them all the documents and for them to give a professional opinion, and it can be charged to the board itself. But the board would have to approve to pay it and approve to hire someone to do so. So what that person would do is be able to, some accounting firm to certify that they received all the documents and give their opinion that everything, yes, checks and balances. And I think that's what this board's been asking for, but I could be wrong. Is that what you've been looking for, Chairman, Mr. Chairman?
I think it's important, since most of us are new on this board, I think it's important that we have a good record of what we have, what payments have been made, in my opinion.
Just starting to clear slightly.
It's just gonna certify. We were able to make the last payment, so that's good. So that was the last payment, because that's all we had to make anyway. We couldn't have made but one payment. So that payment was done. That's all we had, and that's it. I don't anticipate it being very large. I believe, and Mr. Allison, you have to help me out, that the money, the processing fee for London that we didn't actually pay this time, is it $2,000? Is that what the processing fee number is?
I believe, so I believe they have an annual fee that may be $5,000.
To process all the payments?
Yeah, see, that just so many things pop up that are new that we don't know about.
Sure.
It's like all of a sudden,
I believe
This
their
fee is-
annual custody fee is $5,000.
Right, so you pay a trust fee to, for them to hold them into trust, $5,000, for them to hold this in trust,
So
as an
make sure
annual
that-
fee. So we just need to make sure that, I'm quite sure it's not even gonna be anything close to that, but we just need somebody to sit down, who, as a pocket protector, they used to say, and will say, yes, this lines up, yes, this makes sense, yes, and then so forth, then we can have that in the file, and then it's gonna be a minute before we get these deposits to make another transfer, then we'll be all right. Because if there's anything outstanding, as I mentioned before, I don't know, and I think I did ask Mr. Ricks, has anybody done is it Tim? The 990 file, he may find out that we haven't filed it, and they may need to go back and file for years that he may have missed. So those kind of things, it's a housekeeping kind of thing, and this board would have to approve to solicit someone and to provide that information once they actually have all that data.
to stay in good standing with the state.
How do we determine the scope of work for the auditing firm?
Well, I think you would tell me, and then we'll put it in as we're soliciting what you would like. I would envision for a scope of work to be able to do some kind of verification of payments. a verification that, you know, everything, all checks and balances, what went in, came out. And then the other thing would be to make sure that we're in good standing with the IRS, because I don't know about you, but I keep telling everybody, Uncle Paul went to jail for tax evasion, not necessarily all the wonderful things he did in the city of Chicago. So those kind of things we want to make sure that we're able to do so.
Mr. Mendez, any thoughts on this?
Well, I just, you know, how far in the arrear, as far as arrears go with what's owed?
Ms. Jefferson, you want to speak to this?
I'm sorry, I didn't bring my records for that. I believe it's 4 payments, so $279 twice, which would be
And that's what the current payment is
after
made.
that payment was just made. And that might be as of September 1 up. I can send you an email this evening
Yeah.
with that amount, but I did not bring records for that. When Bank of New York makes the bond payment from the money that was just sent, they will list the payments that are unpaid and in arrears. That has not happened yet.
So roughly 4, we can, okay.
You said 4 payments of 279?
No.
139.
They're 139.5.
500.
279 is a whole year, so just 2 payments.
Okay.
Ben, what are your thoughts on looking for an auditing firm?
Since Henry brought up the whole phone thing as a volunteer, I just want to make sure moving forward we're on a clean slate. And I'm not saying anybody did anything wrong in the past, but moving forward I want to make sure that if there was something done wrong, it doesn't fall back personally on myself and any of us as volunteers. So I just want to make sure we have a clean slate moving forward, and that's my opinion on that. Just too many things have popped up since being on this board. Difficulties, to raises too many red flags, and I just want to clear the red flags, in my opinion. Why it's so hard to work with the bank. You know, even Mr. Allison, he's been great, but then you find out you have an extra, I thought it was 2,000, today you said 5,000. I just want to have it all out there. I want to have it all documented, and then I just want to make sure that from the tax office to the city, to the South Trust, to the Bank of Meloncourt, to the bond owners, just all makes sense in the history, and that we move forward, and that way we're just doing with being good stewards of public funds. And we get that, and like even citizens comments from Mr. Roy Edrock, we move forward and grow this place, and it's never been, you know, from the EDC side, making sure we have that commercial frontage that brings in more economic growth to the town and helps pay off the bondholders so we can get this thing going, finally in the right direction, which I believe it is.
Okay.
So
Well,
that's
why
my
don't we
opinion.
entertain a motion that we look for an auditing firm or not? But if we're going to look for a firm, I would recommend that Ben develops the scope of work for that as being the treasurer.
If we could get some sort of a structure of how these monies end up in that account and what the schedule is what I'd be interested in seeing.
Yeah, 'cause I don't know how often the tax office pays.
That's what I'd like to see, is be able to have that and see, okay, how does the money get in there, and does it get in there in a timely manner, and where's it coming from?
Yes, sir.
So, has anyone made a motion?
No, there's no motion yet.
Yeah, I'll make the motion to move forward with looking for some type of auditing firm with Danny's recommendation of coming up with a scope of work.
I second it.
With Andy on that.
Motion by Mr. Reed, second by Mr. Mendez. All in favor, say aye.
I was ready.
Motion by Mr. Reed, second by Mr. Mendez.
Yes. Councilor Vogt.
All in favor, say aye.
How many gets in there?
Aye.
That's fine.
Mr. Mendes? Dave?
Oh, yes.
Yes.
Sir.
I was writing down.
Okay, all present said
Yes.
Scope of work,
Aye.
comment.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
so items for next meeting's agenda?
Well, based on your last motion, Mr. Chairman, would you all like to have actual physical firms or a letter? Or somebody talking about the qualifications as those who you care to select? Is that what you like? Would you want the firms here, or do you want to pick them from their PR paperwork, or?
You know, just whoever would be qualified to follow the paper chase and the money, and, you know, I'm not familiar with that side of it myself, but I don't know if anybody here locally is equipped to do that, or whether we gotta go outside of there, or,
You
I would
probably
always
have to
think-
leave- You probably have to, not necessarily have anybody that's local. We want a firm that's familiar with bonds. I
correct?
can take some recommendations from the attorney to do that. I don't want to advertise in the newspaper and do all of that, but
Right.
we can probably get some recommendations from the
Yeah, I would just say
attorney.
just the recommendations.
And then I can
Cost
bring
of-
a selection for them to explain their qualifications, and then you can select with them what their fee schedule would be. Is that?
That sounds good.
Yes, that works.
We try to solicit at least 3. I don't want to do like 20. Sometimes you do
No.
something out there, you get 20. About 3 firms would you probably use?
No more than 3.
That works.
That'll
3
work.
firms. So then, the auditing firm would be on the agenda?
Okay.
I'd like to figure out an easier way to work with the bank. Talk about that in our future.
Yes, and, I did speak to, you know, because this is a bond kind of thing, not all banks can
Yeah, I know.
hold these kind of funds and transfer these kind of
I would
funds.
just maybe invite them
I
to make a
am,
meeting or
I
something.
am doing the research as to the qualifications of what you have to do, what type of bank can hold these type of bonds.
Mhm.
I did speak to Wells Fargo, the city uses Wells Fargo, and, they say it's complicated,
Yeah.
because, not all the banks can do that. Mr. Johnson even speak to that, it's complicated as to who and the requirements for banks to be able to hold this type of money.
So, in my personal opinion, most banks should be able to receive money from the city and forward it to the bank trustee. It's the secondary Bank of New York that there's very limited
Okay.
things. So I think Wells Fargo may think you're talking about them serving as a trustee
Oh,
than
rather than
just
just-
a,
Yeah, you're just like
The
an
bank
in-between
account.
holding money.
Okay, then I can, make sure that we can talk to the attorney about it, and we can bring some selections of bank options, is that okay?
Are we ready to discuss that, or do we want to wait for an audit results?
You
I just want
should,
to put on a future agenda item.
a future, but not necessarily the next one, because we.
Maybe after the, let's wait till we get over on it.
Yes, sir. Is that the only thing we need to?
That would be the
do?
only thing, right, for our next meeting? Anything else, Mr. Allison, that you can think of?
that's all.
Mr. Ricks? Mr. Mendes?
If I
Three.
could say something that, Ben and I have met when I wear my other hat, Mr. Chairman. We met with Richard Kuntz, and he's excited about this project moving forward. He mentioned something to me that I think we need to get out there. That, he's working very hard in developing this, and so over the last 3 years, he's built 60 homes. And Horton Builders is out there building, and in the last 3 months, they've actually pulled, at that time, 25 permits in 3 months. And as of today, they pulled 5 more, so they've done 30 permits. And so this is moving very, very quickly. We are working on, actually sometime early September, bringing this next phase to the city council for approval. We're working with planning and zoning. My engineer today is receiving and starting to do the infrastructure and the review of that next phase, which I believe is at 94 or 95 homes, Mr. Ricks, do you know? 94, 95? It's either 94 or 95 homes.
And part of that, once we get, I think this one in the next phase, I think 2 more phases, we have to start looking at, on my other hat with Ms. Turner, a master plan, because he needs to do more entrances to knock out the other 2, but then he has to upgrade the current entrance he has that is temporary
Yeah.
permit.
So we're really, really excited. So you're on this board at a time when this project is actually not just, slowly moving around. I know it's the owner, Mr. Rich, is probably very excited about that, but he has alluded to me and, again, Mr. Reed, that they anticipate rough numbers, 100 houses a year they want to do for the next 5 years. So that is really exciting that this project is moving forward. We're going to start talking about commercial development and things such as that, which is part of the master plan for this subdivision. What I am going to ask Rich to do is he presents to planning and zoning that he has to do for to ask him to make that same presentation to this board when we have an opportunity, because I think this board needs to see where you've come from and where it's going for the future, because it's really quite exciting. And as a side note, we used Riverbend's subdivision ordinance as a model for subdivisions going forward. So we're now talking about, we have some parks and some sidewalks, because your whole subdivision has sidewalks, including hike and bike, and most of our subdivisions previously did not, but this, that has set the standard for as we go forward. So, on that note, that we have, the firm will be the focus, and getting the data that they need will be the focus of next meeting.
Yeah.
Do you all have a meeting date?
Do we want to wait 30 days for, to receive the,
Yes, I will need at least 30 days to be able
Okay.
to do that. Do you want to?
so we want to wait till maybe the latter part of September?
Well, get past my birthday, and Labor Day in September. We could do it sometime in September if you like. We've been doing it on Tuesdays. That sound about right, gentlemen? Tuesdays, and so Labor Day's on the 7th. Would you want to do it right after the holiday, or you
What
want to
about
do
that following week?
the 15th?
Yeah.
9:15 sounds good. All right, gentlemen, we'll do it at 9:15. Same times at 3:30, sir?
Yes. Is that good for everyone?
That works.
9:15, 3:30?
September 15th, 3:30.
That's my birthday.
Is it?
It's
Is it
all right.
really?
I'll be here.
We'll make sure that we sing happy birthday.
Buy your lunch.
Bring the cupcake.
We can't do cupcake, we'll do one individually, and a little bitty box just for you.
Any other business or any other discussions? If not, meeting's adjourned, looks like at 4 o'clock on the dot.
Thank you.
No, it's not.
Maybe it's 4 or 9.
4:09, sir.
4:09, I'm sorry.
Thank you. Thank you, gentlemen.